Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. That doesn't mean no, just on niche. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, it's what's the time, Mr. Wolf? So it is 12:45, 1:45 p.m. in our old England, my delicious little babies. Okay, on the 18th of May, 2025. Now then, my delicious little babies. So my videos are taking a while to upload for some strange reason. So there we are. So we appear to be back to that again. Anyway, never mind. We must continue to keep a handle on it, my delicious little babies. Now then, so right, okay. So I have, and I'll just let you know what the weather's like. So it is a bit chilly today, my delicious little babies, even though the sun has been coming and going. So sometimes it's got its hat on, and other times it has not today. We've got some white, so they are not grey and white, they are white, fluffy clouds, and we've got some blue sky, my delicious little babies. So that's the weather forecast. How high did they say it was today? I forgot now because I'm flipping, flicked it off. My delicious little babies. Anyway, well, it's not so super duper warm today, my delicious little babies. I can well assure you of that now. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, right now then, my delicious little babies. But wherever you are in the world, I heard that your weather is super duper wonderful and delicious. Okay, because I love you all, sir. Okay, wherever you are in the world. Okay. Now then, my delicious little babies. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Today, my delicious little babies, to tell you. So what do we do? 2, 4, 6, 8. What's the year of that song, my delicious little babies? Anyway, now then, so let's get to the first one, shall we? So this one here is just over 9 minutes long, my delicious little babies, okay? This is on YouTube, okay? In fact, actually, they're all on YouTube, my delicious little babies today, okay? Now then, because I have to be able to catch up with the videos and what I'm going to put out, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay? Now then, so, right, okay. So this is called, in the old space bar, my delicious little babies, capital W, world, okay, space, capital U, up. It sort of reminds you of that song. What year's that song? Word Up, Word Up. You know that song, my delicious little babies, okay? Now then, so this uploader, so it's world, space, up, capital W, capital U. This uploader happens to have 155 subscribers, my delicious little babies. So, only a little baby. Well, may they prosper. And with anybody not in that way, not in that way, okay? Now then, this should read 7, number 7 again, wood, ash, uses you've never heard of. Game changing. Okay, my delicious little babies. So I'm just going to repeat that again for you, shall I? 7, wood ash uses you've never heard of. Game changing. Yes, my delicious little babies. Now then, so the importance of this, just very briefly, is not to use anything that's treated. So that means anything that's been painted. It's like breaking wood down, isn't it? And then, you can burn it, you know what I mean? Okay, so what they're saying is that just gives off the toxic in the air. So you want the more natural. Now, I did hear them mention maple in this, okay? So, there's certain wood ash that works, there we are, better, okay, my delicious little babies. So it's a very interesting little video for anybody who happens to have an interest, my delicious little babies, okay? Which, of course, I've also seen videos on coal, like, the coal stations that they were demolishing in our old England, my delicious little babies. Well, anyway, I've watched plenty of her videos on coal, and where it's a very good idea to put it in one's garden, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so I just thought I'd mention that one. Now then, my delicious little babies, so the next one, okay, this one here, in the old space bar again, my delicious little babies, capital H, shiny, you know, SHRNY, space, capital D, disease, you know, disease. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? So should read capital S, shiny, capital D, space, disease, disease. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, this uploader happens to have 137 subscribers, my delicious little babies, okay? So 137 subscribers, okay? So another little baby. And may they prosper, okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, so we're ticking it off as we go along. This video should read how to make dandelion syrup, step-by-step guide. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? I've even done, you know, the way I've wrote it. I've wrote step, then the next bit up, bar, then the next bit up, step. So I've even done it, you know, that way, my delicious little babies. Yeah, so I'll just repeat again. How to make dandelion syrup, step-by-step guide. Okay, my delicious little babies, so that's over 14 minutes long, my delicious little babies, okay? So, you know, has a lot of, let's just say, goodness for one's body, my delicious little babies, okay? Now then, so those two are ticked off. Now then, my delicious little babies, so the next one, this one here is, I'm trying to do this in a certain way, my delicious little babies, okay? So this one here, oh, I'm flipping, hold on, just one moment, please, sweet. Oh, I've forgotten to write down what, oh, flip me. Oh, that's really frustrated me, my delicious little babies, because you know what? I've flipping forgotten to write down the uploader. Okay, all right, okay, I'm going to have to do this a different way. If you was to please and thank you, tap into the search engine, you should be able to get it this way, my delicious little babies. If not, I'm just going to have to repeat the process the next time I do a video. Sorry, excuse me, my delicious little babies. Except for, you know, this time it'll have the uploads, my delicious little babies, okay? This one's only 20 odd minutes long, okay? So it's, again, these are not long videos, my delicious little babies, okay? If you was to please and thank you, typing in old YouTube into the old space bar, should anybody happen to have any form of an interest, this astronomer found dozens of UFOs in orbit. She paid a heavy price. Dr. Villarol, which is spelled V-R-L-L-A, Villa, and it's all together, R-O-E-L, Villarol, okay, my delicious little babies, interview. So I feel if you was to type it in, I'm so sorry, it's very long-winded, but this is the only, because I forgot, I cannot believe I've done, occasionally I do this, my delicious little babies. I do not know what's made me do that. I just feel it's because I'm just looking at so many, do you know what I mean, okay? Then I was like, clicked back on it not long before I came onto my video, my delicious little babies. And what's happened is that because I'm looking at so many, I'm just writing them down rather fast, okay? I'll just repeat it again for you. This astronomer found dozens of UFOs in orbit. She paid a heavy price. Dr. Villarol, okay, interview. Okay, my delicious little babies, then you should be able to get straight to it now. This has only been uploaded, I think, about 17 hours ago. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? And what's happening here, in brief, is that she has always wanted to do his science properly, my delicious little babies, but it appears that other scientists, shall we say, maybe do not share her view. Okay, so there we are. It's the way that she's been treated. Okay, she goes back to like the 1950s. She goes back to very, very interesting, my delicious little babies, and to do with the stars, there we are, and everything like this now then, okay, my delicious little babies. Anyway, really interesting. So you should be able to find it if you just type it in like that, my delicious little babies, okay? But bless her. Do you know what I mean? Because you have got really good, who we would call, they really want to do a wonderful job, okay? Mind you, it is very few and far between, but there are some decent ones, okay? If one sort of picks them out in the world, my delicious little babies. But it seems that what she had to say now then has not sat very well with some, shall we say, my delicious little babies, okay? But if you was to type it all in like that, I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to find who it is, my delicious little babies. I'm very sorry, I never did that on purpose. Now then, my delicious little babies, okay? So where do we go now? Okay. So now we're going to go to, right, this uploader here, so now we're going to a large one here, happens to have 4.64 million subscribers, my delicious little babies, so a very large platform, my delicious little babies. And if you could please and thank you, type in capital W, we, space, capital L, love, space, capital A, animals. Okay, my delicious little babies, so this is the uploader. So it should read we, space, love, space, animals, capital W, capital L, capital A. Okay, my delicious little babies. The video should read, and it is just over 3 minutes long, my delicious little babies. Hero tortoise rushes to save struggling friend. Okay, my delicious little babies, so I'm just going to repeat that again for you. Hero tortoise rushes to save struggling friend. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, what this is about briefly, okay, so I'm just trying to speed through. It's so beautiful to see. Well, it wasn't beautiful what happened, but then it was beautiful what took place afterwards. Is that, you had this, you got the little baby tortoises, okay, it's just like in this little square. And then you've got this one large tortoise and another large tortoise, okay? Now, this one large tortoise charges at the other large tortoise and knocks the tortoise over, basically, right? Then walks round, stands there for a moment and then just walks round and walks away. But then the tortoise that's in difficulty now, who has been harmed, has a friend. So this friend decides to come to the rescue, my delicious little babies. Okay, so we've all got an itchy nose, surprise. So this tortoise, who's the friend to the one who's been harmed, needs to find a different angle as how to get the harmed tortoise, his little friend, back on his feet. So it's just over 3 minutes long, my delicious little baby. It's very interesting. There we are. It's really interesting to watch how it's done, because the tortoise, the friend tortoise, is stood there and trying to find a way. Then what he does is he circles. You see what I mean? So he circles to try and get a different angle. Then he goes at the other angle. And then he, starts to nudge. And it's really interesting. Do you know what I mean? There we are, to see how it's done. And then eventually he manages to do it, you know, he uses all his strength, you know what I mean? First of all, he sort of charges at it, you know, not in a nasty way, but to just try to find a way. But that's when he circles and he thinks, okay, let's try it from a different angle. But it just goes to show, there we are, the cleverness of this. You know, so when one say, I mean, for myself, the same as yourselves, my beautiful little babies that you all are out there, okay? I pretty much say that you are, you know, what we call our beautiful little sons and daughters, but you are animal lovers, yes, okay? But, you know, when you hear others out there, because we've heard it over the decades, oh, they're silly, I do not like this word, they're stupid, you know, they do not understand, they do not have emotions. Well, actually, yes, they do. So does everything, all creatures, great and small, little or large animals, little or large birdies, they all, there we are, have intelligence. Do you know what I mean? Okay, I mean, and my little birdies and everything, they have right flipping mothers' meetings. Do you know what I mean? My delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Oh, and by the way, just to let you know, it's not very often that you see ants. But let me tell you, in my back garden, let me tell you, they seem to be working towards something, it seems, you know what I mean? Because, and they get together and then they go boom like this, and then they come away from each other, then boom again. Do you know what I mean? Okay, they seem to be working very hard, these little ants. Anyway, my delicious little babies now then. So please, if you could please and thank you, take a look at this video. There we are. You're going to get where I'm coming from when you watch it. It's a video that, you could watch time and time again. But it's amazing how the one little tortoise, well, they're not exactly little, my delicious little babies, but it's amazing how the one will help the little friend. Do you see what I mean? But it's very clear that the other one was not in a very good mood at all when it was charging at the tortoise, my delicious little babies. Just knocked it completely off its feet, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, so that's that then. So that one's ticked off. Yeah, really lovely though. But I'm so glad he got back on his little feet, because he was on his back and it was like this and he didn't know what to do because he couldn't move, because he was like on his back, on his shell, you know what I mean? My delicious little babies. Now then, the next one, okay? I want to just, talk about this, okay? So this uploader happens to have 10.9 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies, okay? And in the old space bar, please and thank you, capital W, win, space, capital A, Africa. Okay, my delicious little babies, that's the uploader. So I'm just going to repeat that again for you. Should read capital W, win, space, capital A, Africa. That's the uploader. Okay, my delicious little babies. The video should read. Now, for some of you, you may very well know about this, but for others, you may not know about this. Okay, but anyway, I just want to mention something here. So the video should read: Tesla. That doesn't mean no. Tesla and China stay silent as Maxwell Shikumbatos. So I'm sorry for the mispronunciation there. Everybody knows I'm crap at pronouncing words. New African technology shocks the world. Okay, my delicious little baby. So I'm just going to repeat this again for you. Tesla and China stay silent as Maxwell Shikumbatos. Sorry, Martin. It makes it sound like a 5-year-old again at school. You know what I mean? Trying to pronounce it. Shikumbatos. New African technology shocks the world. I'm so sorry. I'm just really crap at pronouncing. Everybody knows that. Yeah, okay. So this here is about 12 minutes something long, my delicious little babies. Okay, so again, it's not keep a handle on it. It's not a long video, my delicious little babies. Okay, and this is about didn't they say at the beginning that somebody passed away when they was 17? Or was it no, not 17, 2017, my delicious little babies. Okay, But then somebody else took over. My delicious little babies. Okay. Now then, and then I've seen another video. Then I'll go back to this. Doesn't mean no. Then I've seen another video. Was that about 3 months ago or something? Is it the elite university have agreed, to all of this. What my issue is here, my delicious little babies, okay? You're probably wondering, well, why am I mentioning this? The reason why I'm mentioning this, my delicious little babies, is because if you're inventing something, okay, my delicious little babies, okay, well, shouldn't you really just keep it to yourself? Do you know what I mean? Then build yourself up. Do you see what I'm saying, my delicious little babies, okay? And then get yourself on your feet. Since when does your man here, Maxwell, bless, since when does he need, for certain to say that something's all right? My delicious little babies. Because I'm not getting anything across my shoulders, so that would tell me no. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? Very interesting as well with your man there, stood there with the scarf on. Lots of different colours. My delicious little babies, do you see what I mean? So, what's the point to what I'm making here? So, he was talking as well, just drawing a line down the centre, where, and that doesn't mean no, where he's talking about like a television, box in the corner of the room where, you will not need anything to power it or, anything like this now then. Well, you see, the thing is, and I'll tell you who was really brilliant for this was BitChute, my delicious little babies, which of course, we cannot see in our old England anymore. And to this day, I still miss BitChute, my delicious little babies. But I think I'm going to have to use something else to be able to view the videos, my delicious little babies. Okay, but of course, it's but it's not pointless, but I suppose it is pointless in a way, giving out the information. If one's in England, you cannot watch it, my delicious little babies. However, there'll be ones in other countries who can, bless them, and bless your dear little hearts for that. And I mean that genuinely, you know what I mean? Because I was peed off my delicious little babies when that happened, okay? But of course, as we know, it's not Ray's fault, bless him, the owner, it's not his fault. It's what our old England have done. You know what I mean? Same as there we are to many other companies. Very sadly, my delicious little babies, okay? It's like our old England, certain, there we are, want their own way all the time, don't they, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Like spoilt little brats. Okay, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so what's my point? BitChute is brilliant for this, and some uploaders, there we are, really did banging videos. Because they show that, like, everything runs on energy anyway. Natural energy. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? But what I do not like, okay, I'm always super duper, behind, not in that way, behind anybody who does any form of an invention, there we are, or anything, because it is just magical. Do you know what I mean? It's a wonderful thing, and for somebody to have such a wonderful mind, there we are. So anything like that, I'm fully behind. What I do not like is when, let's just say, the larger come into things now. That's what I do not like. Because it takes the natural and the uniqueness and the original from who that mankind would be. And of course they have been in the past, over decades, my delicious little babies. Then of course somebody else has come along, either to say, well, I'm going to pay you this, ka-ching, 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 this much, if you hand over And of course, then we've also heard of the ones where they do not wish to hand over. And very sadly, there we are, what their fate was. Should not have been, but what it ended up as. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Yes. So that would be my only thing. Nothing against, Maxwell or anything. But it's just, I see, there we are, something else. There we are. Behind this, there we are, my delicious little babies, okay? And one should always be very wary about this, they're not just taken over. You see, because we've seen it so many times in the world, my delicious little babies anyway, but that's just my view, okay? But if you have to have the care from somebody else, really, it's your own self, isn't it? Okay, it may be more difficult because you've got to spend your own ka-ching, ching, ching, and it can be very hard, because you've got to get funding and everything like that. But, you can also get communities together, you know what I mean, that they see these wonderful things that you are doing, and then they can help in some way. Do you see what I'm saying, my delicious little babies, okay? Instead of cutting corners, which is what a lot of multimillionaires do now then, do you know what I mean? Because they certainly do not get there through being honest. My delicious little babies, do you see what I'm saying? Yes. And of course you could get these marvellous inventions. And what ends up happening? Somebody has a tinker here and a tanker there and a bell there. Do you see what I mean? And before you know it, something's been effed up, isn't it? Something that was once wonderful and original then gets effed up. You know what I mean? So they turned everything. It's like you could get a wonderful food, you could get a wonderful drink like milk. Milk, which is meant to be wholesome and good and nutritious for us all. But then what do? They pop chemicals. They do this, they do that, they do the next thing now. They have to ruin everything they effing touch. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Yes. But as we very well know, it's usually copycat. And this is what happens. It's just gone on for decades, my delicious little babies. And of course, when you can see it, can't you, very sadly? Now then, my delicious little babies, so there is just one more today, okay? That's my only issue. Not Maxwell himself, no. Because like I said, I have respect for anybody who, has a wonderful mind, not in that way, to be able to do marvellous things, just like a carpenter or anything like that, okay? A builder, that can build some fantastic things, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, there we are, what else is behind it. That's food for thought. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay, that's why I wanted to mention it. Now, finally, my delicious little babies, okay, so this on YouTube, this uploader happens to have 26.8 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies. So in the old space bar, in YouTube, my delicious little babies, Mac, capital M, MACRN, then Tosh, TOSH. Okay, my delicious little babies, Macintosh team, capital T, space team. So it should read capital M, Macintosh, space, capital T, team. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay, who's got the initial M and who's got the initial T? Or it could be TMMT. Okay, my delicious little babies, anyway. Somebody's just made me say that. Anyway, my delicious little babies, okay? The video should read, watch this journalist dismantle Israeli propaganda. Yeah, just joining dots, my delicious little babies. So just repeat that again for you, shall I? Watch this journalist dismantle Israeli propaganda. Yeah, this is over 25 minutes long, my delicious little babies. Now, what your man here does, this journalist, okay, he's talking to, I forgot his flipping name now. Anyway, you know who he is. As soon as you saw him, my delicious little babies, you know who he is, and it's on YouTube, my delicious little babies. This journalist, I mean, I know that for other journalists out there and other alternative media, you will already know who this is, okay? So, it wouldn't be for yourselves, to know this marvelous little babies. It'll be for anybody who happens to, as well as my beautifuls who watch me all the time. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So thank you for any views, for any likes, and for the occasional comments. Okay. At least I know somebody's listening to me. Okay, marvelous little babies, as I always say. Who's meant to listen? Listens. Who's meant to see? Yes. Now then, you see this journalist. So now we're going to close our book. Must remember, everything's ticked off. Must remember to go back to where we need to go back to. Marvelous little babies. We're just going to put our book over there. Now then, marvelous little babies. So yeah, this journalist. There we are. Doesn't mean no. We should have. There we are. Far more of. Because it seemed to myself that your man there who has been asked the questions was getting rather upset and rather, there we are, what I would call as a word, isn't there, uppity. So he's getting rather uppity by the questions that your man journalist there we are, was asking. Okay, he was getting rather irritated, it seemed, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? Okay, because with this journalist now then, he was your type of journalist, there we are, where he just wouldn't let go. He's like, like when you've got a bone and you just won't let go of that bone. It's like that, my delicious little babies, okay? But you should have heard your other man there now then, okay? Where he was stumbling, okay? He kept coming up with the numbers, 13, of course, where we hear that all the time. My delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? There were, as well as other numbers, my delicious little babies. See how I stumbled there. But your man here, yeah, caught out, there we are, telling porcupines, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Liar, 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 there we are, bombs on fire. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? He was not liking it at all. Now, if more journalists, there we are, were to behave the same way, come on, when they go to college and then university, and then when they go to university, come on, give me a break now. You're there to learn, isn't it? And I say that for anybody, in that field. Do you see what I mean? Okay, if you know that something does not feel right when you're being taught, it is at that time, there we are, to stand up and there we are and speak for yourself. Do you know what I mean? To speak for yourself, to say, okay, because you're speaking, aren't you? But you're speaking for yourself because you want to know an answer to a question, not just be told, there we are, how this must go. Do you see what I mean? I know what I'm talking about. So you would be speaking, there we are, for yourself, because you'd be asking different questions. So therefore you are speaking, aren't you? It's coming out here. You see what I mean? Out here. You see, okay? So if more and more did that, I'm pretty sure that with these universities now, there we are, you could turn it around. Do you know what I mean? But because they seem to, for some unknown strange reason, seem to get their own way all the time, but far more now, there we are, working up to this shot, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean, okay? I really just do not feel, that doesn't mean yes, that they're going to be finding it so easy now, do you know what I mean, okay? So, what I'm saying is that you need more of, there we are, that type of journalist. And that's what I've got to say, my delicious little babies. What am I on? 34:22. Okay, my delicious little babies, so now I'm going to go. So yeah, if more spoke up for themselves and said, well, no, I would like to know more about this, or, or even saying to the tutor, well, how did you draw yourself to that conclusion? What we are meant to be learning. Do you see what I mean, okay? Because this is why, over the decades, there we are, what they've got away with, what they got away with. There we are, what they got away with. You see, and it's only the ones who know, which is the ones or the tutors, and they say, no, 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 we're not putting up with this crap. And then they walk, isn't it? It's either that or they're forced out. You know what I mean? Because the services are no longer required because they're not willing to row your boat. Do you know what I mean? In the same direction that everybody else has got to follow the leaders. Do you see what I mean, Marty little babies? Yes. But you do not see many journalists like your man here. No, you do not. Oh, I think I'm going to have to go because I think I'm flipping dog and bone. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to have to delete everything. Anyway, my delicious little babies, sorry, I'm stumbling again. I do apologise. And before it goes, my delicious little babies, I'm so sorry. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families all be fully protected. Okay, my delicious little babies. And please take care of yourselves now. Please try to take care of others. Okay, thank you so very much once again for listening. But please remember what I said, speak up for yourself. You know, that's what I mean. I know what I mean. Okay, my delicious little babies. I'll say as long as I know what I mean. But I know that who listens to me regularly, there we are. You will know what I mean. You'll get where I'm coming from. Okay, there we are. My delicious little babies. You'll know what I'm saying. Yes, okay. See, they twist the words. They twist everything. Yes, okay. And that's why I keep saying, look at the words. I've been doing it for months and months and months and months and months. And we've got a good vibrations. Please have a super duper fabulous and wonderful and delicious time. Love ya. Goodbye.